All right, you were rolling.
My name is Drew Willard, and I'm going to tell the story of a rich man and a poor man, which I first heard told by Richard Humphreys of Nome Countryside. There once was a rich man who lived on top of a hill. He had a huge mansion and a beautiful garden. And every day around 4 in the afternoon, he would take his tea in the garden to enjoy the flowers, and he did this day after day after day. One day, he heard at 4 in the afternoon, as he was about to have his tea, singing, laughing, and dancing. And he went to the garden wall, looked over, and there was a house at the bottom of the hill where a poor man had just moved in with his wife and 8 children. And they had just come home from school. And they were singing, laughing, and dancing. And this went on day after day after day after day. And that rich man finally decided he was going to do something about it. And he arranged for that poor man to lose his job. And the next day, there wasn't singing, laughing, and dancing, only crying. And though this was a distraction too for that rich man, he considered it to be an improvement. Meanwhile, at the house of the poor man, he was calming his wife and 8 children down, saying, "You don't worry about a thing. Your mother and I buried 30 doubloons in the backyard. I'm going to dig them up, take them to the marketplace. I'll buy some seeds, we'll plant them, we'll bring the harvest to market, we'll be fine. And in the meantime, our family and friends who we helped out in their hard times, they'll help us. Don't worry about a thing." And so the next day, he took those 30 doubloons and he went to the marketplace and bought some seeds, and he was bringing it home in a large wooden bowl with a lanyard around his neck, and he was walking along, and a neighbor came alongside of him, and he greeted his neighbor. He stumbled on a rock, and all those seeds went flying up into the air and fell down between the rocks of the cobblestone road. "Oh no!" Well, he asked the neighbor to go home and tell his wife what had happened, and say, "I'm going to go back to the marketplace, sign up on a ship that's sailing this evening. Tell her I'll send money when I can." And so that's what he did. And that night, the ship set sail, and because he couldn't swim, they put him up in the crow's nest so he could watch out for land and any trouble. And sure enough, there was a storm on the sea. And the boat went back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and threw him out of the crow's nest into the sea. And he would have drowned for sure, except he still had that wooden boat with the lanyard around his neck. And it came up under his chin and knocked him out. But he hung on to it. And it floated and carried him safely to an island, to a tropical island. And he woke up the next morning, and there he was on a beautiful sandy beach, and there was palm trees, jungle, and he wondered if anybody lived on that island. And no sooner did he think that than out from the palm trees of that jungle came the meanest and scariest looking warriors you could possibly imagine. They had shark's tooth teeth and walrus tusk headdress and swordfish spears, and the meanest, scariest looking one of them all came up and he said, "I'm the chief of the island. We got a rule here, we don't allow no visitors, except maybe they give me a gift I really like." Now the poor man was poor, but he wasn't foolish, and he thought, and immediately he took that wooden bowl and he put it on his head. He says, "Well, I have here my hat," and he cinched up the lanyard, and he said, "It protects me from the sun, and protects me from the rain, and floats, which is how I came to your island." And he undid the lanyard and set the wooden bowl at the feet of the island chief. The island chief picked it up, put it on his head, and it fit neatly around the shark's teeth and walrus tusk. And he cinched it up and he said, with a big smile. "I like it. Let's go to dinner." Now, the poor man didn't know whether he was being a guest or the main course, but off they went. And there they had a big feast in the village, the island village, and there was hula dancing and drumming and limbo, how low can you go contest. And then the island chief leaned over and he said to the poor man, he says, "We got another rule in this island, that if I get a gift I really, really like, then I have to match it." And he gave him this palm leaf package, and the poor man unfolded the palm leaf, and inside were 3 jewels of inestimable value: black pearl, red ruby, green jade. So now the poor man was a very, very, very rich man. Well, the next day, the island chief had the poor man, who's now a very, very, very rich man, get on his outrigger of state, and with his best sailors and warriors, he escorted the poor man, who's now a very, very, very rich man, safely back to the mainland. It was about 4 in the afternoon, and the rich man was about to have his tea, when suddenly he heard singing, laughing, and dancing. And it was coming from the house at the bottom of the hill. And this time the rich man thought he would deal with this situation himself. And so he went down the hill and he knocked on the door. And the poor man, who was now a very, very, very rich man, answered the door. And he said, "Oh, neighbor, I heard that you'd fallen on some hard times. I thought I'd come down and see if I could do something to help." And the poor man, who was now a very, very, very rich man, said, "Oh, well, I lost my job and I went to market, set sail on a ship, and there was a storm at sea. I got washed overboard, wound up on this island where they got 2 rules. They don't allow no visitors unless they give the island chief a gift he really likes. They got another rule: if you give him a gift that he really, really likes, then he has to match it. And so he gave me 3 jewels of inestimable value: a black pearl, a red ruby, and a green jade. Now I'm a very, very, very rich man." "Well, I'm so pleased to hear that things worked out for you," said the rich man. "And, well, have a good day." And he started back up the hill, and he was calculating about how he would easily be able to come up with some gift that would be better than anything a poor man could possibly give this island chief. And so he called in his stewards and made his commercial connections and contracted for a merchant vessel. And they loaded it up all through the night and set sail at first light. And by noon they had arrived at that island and began to unload the makings of a great feast for everyone on the island. And they had long tables with linen and comfy chairs and porcelain settings with silver cutlery, crystalware, and there was a fruit cocktail and squab and tureens full of turtle soup. There was barbecue brisket and surf and turf, chocolate cake and coconut cream pie and creme brulee. Enough for everyone in the whole village. And after that feast, the island chief said to this rich man, he says, "Well, this is the 2nd time someone has come to our island. You know, we got this rule: we don't allow visitors unless they give me a gift I really like. We got another gift, and when I get something that I really, really, really like, then I have to match it." And the rich man was going, "Yes, yes, yes." And so the island chief says, I am nonplussed. What else can I do but to give you my most precious thing that I own?" As he began to undo the lanyard for his elaborate headdress and set it before the rich man, who was now no richer but wiser.
That was very good. That was great.